Here we ask the question, and I hope answer, why are lies so powerful? The president has voiced more than 20,000 lies since his inauguration in 2017. Lies that have been repeated so many times that many people accept them. But why? Is it self-promotion gone rogue? Out of control exaggeration? A lazy disregard for exactness? Or an unfortunate characteristic of the showman we know that Trump is? This may sound far-fetched, but bear with me. The renowned social psychologist Robert Zanuck of the Universities of Michigan and Stanford clearly demonstrated in his research that repeated exposure to a stimulus increases the likelihood that many people will accept that stimulus. Also well documented is the serial position effect, reported in a 1968 paper by Atkinson and Schifrin. People remember the first thing they hear much more clearly than later information or corrections. In his book, Win Bigly, Scott Adams refers to the technique as intentional wrongness persuasion, which can invent reality for most voters on most issues. Repeated exposure to lies actually wears down the hearer's resistance to those lies. In other words, brainwashing of individuals and populations simply through repetition. I always love animal behavior stories. They illustrate the complexity of the animal kingdom and gives us some indication about human nature, human behavior. Here is another example of Zajunk's mere exposure effect. Two sets of incubating chicks were exposed to different music, and after they were hatched, they were exposed to the same music again, and each of the group of chicks went towards the music that they were familiar with. This, perhaps the most important finding, is that this happens without conscious awareness, which may help to explain how birtherism rumors regarding Obama reached the point where 47% of Republicans believed that Obama had not been born in the United States. Michael Cohen, in his tell-all book, reported that Trump never doubted that Obama had been born in Hawaii, but a lot of people believed that he hadn't, and believed the lie, and that was suited his purpose. This is a time of crisis when we need to make sure that we are not subtly influenced in this climate of untruth. Let's look at the few examples. Trump indicated that virus is not dangerous, it only attacks old people. His followers believe him so ardently that they risk going to his crowded rallies without face masks, even older people. They did not pay attention to the second part. It only attacks old people. The election will be rigged, repeated often enough, and many will believe it. But the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, reports that in 20 years there's only been 143 cases of mail voter fraud, or 0.00006% of all mail-in ballots. Let me repeat that. Only 0.406% of all mail-in ballots have been fraudulent. Totally vindicated. There was no collusion, there was no obstruction of justice. This was the president's assertion after the Mueller report was released, although the conclusions fell far short of exoneration. Jim Mattis, Secretary of Defense, and Dan Coats, Director of National Intelligence, after working with Trump for many months, concluded that Trump did not know when he was lying. And worse, over time, he began to believe his own lies. How in the world did this happen? Liz Smith, New York columnist and socialite, wrote that Donald Trump lost his moral compass when he made an alliance with Roy Cohn. Early in Trump's business career, Roy Cohn, the infamous New York lawyer and assistant to the corrupt Senator Joseph McCarthy, became and was his attorney and mentor from 1973 to 1985. Cohn was famous for his practice of hardball legal actions and character assassinations at the highest level of New York's dealers and wheelers. Besides character assassination, Cohen's strategy was threefold. First, never settle, never surrender. Second, counterattack, countersue immediately. And third, no matter what happens, no matter how deeply in the muck you get, claim victory and never admit defeat. Tragically and alarmingly, these precepts have been wholeheartedly adopted by the president as a means of acquiring and holding on to power. Honesty, fairness, and compassion. These attributes have been lost in American politics. We must do everything in our power to ensure that this era, which is now entirely counter to the spirit and compassion of American values, and especially integrity and leadership. We cannot risk another 4 years. If you like and agree with this presentation, send it on to your friends and family, or I encourage you to develop your own.